Hello, everyone. My name is Liz Agbartabi from Global Citizen. As many of you may know, this event is broadcasting live from the UN Food Systems Pre-Summit. I would like to acknowledge the key partners hosting this event: Farm Radio International, Global Citizen, the International Fund for Agricultural Development, and World Vision. With hunger rising and climate change impacting us all, it is an important time to think about how our food is grown and by whom and what the future of food looks like. Throughout this session, we will hear from rural people, small-scale farmers, and producers from around the world. They will be sharing their firsthand experiences, their hopes, worries, and solutions to how to make food systems work. First, let's hear some opening remarks from Germany.
Ladies and gentlemen, small-scale producers in agriculture, the people who plant seeds are the heart of every healthy food system around the world. In Africa, Asia, and Latin America, small-scale farmers produce 70 to 80% of the food. They provide food for the cities and ensure the survival and livelihoods of rural communities. Without them, food security cannot be achieved. They are key to addressing world hunger. But smallholders, many of them women, are themselves particularly vulnerable to poverty and hunger. An estimated 63% of the world's poor people work in agriculture, the majority of them on small farms in remote rural communities. In 2020, world hunger worsened dramatically due to the fallout of COVID-19. Therefore, it becomes all the more important that the voices and views of the small-scale farmers are heard when it comes to transforming global food systems. IFAD's holistic approach of empowering smallholders, especially women and girls, perfectly reflects their critical role in ensuring sustainable food security, nutrition, and healthy diets for all. And IFAD's approach very much harmonizes our own political initiative, such as the German special initiative One World, No Hunger. We therefore welcome IFAD's strong commitment to taking a prominent role in the UN Food System Summit and towards achieving Agenda 2030. And we would like to urge other countries to join these efforts and make serious, sustained investments in food security and climate adaptation. In addition, public and private stakeholders must join forces to create sustainable value chains for agricultural products. To do this, we need to be receptive and listen even more carefully to rural voices. And we must tailor our programs to rural people's needs to ensure real improvements on the lives of smallholders and global food security. Thanks a lot.
Without an agricultural sector and without farmers to grow our food, we would all go hungry. Enough food is actually being produced to feed everyone. But we need to transform our food systems so that it delivers healthy diets and decent incomes for the people who work in them. Small-scale farmers are the backbone of our global food system. Each has the knowledge and experience to help transform the food system in positive ways, if they have a seat at the table. So we are here to listen to rural voices and learn from what they have to say. That is what makes this event so special and exciting. We will be speaking to some of them live from Nigeria, Tanzania, Bhutan, and the Solomon Islands, in a short while. But before we do, let's hear from some others around the world. As world leaders are watching this week, we ask them what they would like to say to them.
Eu, Denise, gostaria de dizer para os líderes mundiais que é importantíssimo que seja investido na agricultura familiar para a alimentação das famílias, porque a gente produz um alimento bom, limpo e justo, com toda a qualidade.
Ni sumasigo bara ani ka fɛɛrɛ cikɛlaw ye tugudɔra walima u bɛ se ka nafa sɔrɔ cogo min na.
मेरी ये गुजारिश है कि ये गुर्बत का खात्मा करें.
maa ngi leen lancé message boo xamante ne comme njiit yi wala njiitu réew mi mu gën ñoo jàppale ci environnement bi daanaka environnement bi parce que boobu daanaka moo nekk priorité géej ci foofu lañ yaakaar ci lépp parce que jën yi rek tuufaye yoxos yi yëpp foofu lay jóge kon foofu dañ ko war a aar bu baax.
Me gustaría pedirle a los líderes mundiales que primero sean un ente de fiscalización con las grandes industrias, porque estas en mayor porcentaje cooperan con los cambios climáticos y esto nos perjudica a todos los que vivimos en este planeta.
I want to tell or suggest to all leaders to support the youth around the world and make their life better by infusing them with skills and discipline.
And we'll be hearing more from Rural Voices Live shortly. But first, I am delighted to now introduce Helene Papper, Director of Communications and Advocacy at IFAD, the United Nations International Fund for Agricultural Development, and Rex Chiapata, Farm Radio International, to talk about how they gathered some of these voices. Helene, over to you. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Liz. It's really great to be here at the pre-summit. Thank you for this introduction. Just to recap a little bit, as the UN Secretary General is calling on countries across the globe to ensure leaders, decision makers, corporations, and populations come together as one to address challenges from the climate crisis to the global health pandemic with a focus on the areas which we must strengthen to ensure we can build back better. This includes strengthening our food systems. They're failing us. They're not sufficiently strong enough to ensure that all people have nutritious, healthy food to eat for present and future generations while safeguarding the Earth's natural resources. But we know two things to be true. If we want to fix those food systems, we have to listen to the people who work in them. And resilient food systems start with empowering rural people, and that includes involving them in the conversation, ensuring their own knowledge and local realities are at the heart of solutions moving forward. And with the work we do at IFAD to serve small-scale farmers around the world, we focused part of our efforts in making sure this year that they are part of this global dialogue and that their voices are at the heart of discussions moving forward. After all, small-scale farmers produce roughly a third of the world's food. They're critical to food security. But many of them live in remote areas where digital technology and connectivity are yet to reach. So to ensure they were indeed part of these game-changing solutions and actions, we turned towards radio. Radio has an amazing capacity to create that interactivity, to make sure that populations feel engaged in the way that we are moving forward. It's more than 100 years old. Radio is still the world's most popular mass media. It reaches billions of people each year. It can be found practically everywhere, even in the most remote villages of Africa. And actually, community radio around the world is growing. It's accessible, it broadcasts in local languages that everyone can understand. And that's why we've decided to work with amazing radio partners who have particular expertise in weaving programs that will involve and that have been involving the men, the women, the young and old, to make sure that their hard-learned knowledge their local realities and what they know about the challenges that they are living today when they are confronted with climate change are leveraged to be part of these game-changing solutions. So I'm thrilled today to announce that IFAD and Farm Radio International came together in this very important moment with the support of the Canadian government, with World Vision, to embark on an innovative collaboration to ensure the most vulnerable countries and rural voices are being included in this important debate. Today, I am very pleased to be joined by Rex. Rex, as one of the senior members of Farm Radio International, he brings to the floor years of expertise. He's going to give us a sneak preview of this exciting project and these independent dialogues that we have run with Farm Radio International across several countries in Africa. Rex, thank you so much for giving us a sneak preview of the work that we've been doing with our smallholder farmers across these countries. To you.
Thank you very much, Helen. Indeed, in the month of June, we took the independent dialogues at the doorsteps of the small-scale farmers in Africa. We started these on-air dialogues in 4 countries. We were in Burkina Faso, we went all the way to Ghana, Tanzania, and Uganda. We worked with 6 radio stations in these countries who are reaching millions of small-scale farmers to hear their perspectives concerning the upcoming global agenda on food systems. Actually, during those 3 weeks in June, we're able to hear from over 3,500 unique voices in terms of the issues that they want to be tabled at the seat during the summit. It was actually incredible to hear both the voices of men, women, and young people. Actually, what was so interesting in terms of the results that are coming out is what people think about the future of farming as an integral part of food systems. It was great to hear that most of the people see farming as a lucrative occupation for the young people of Africa, even as much as they want to see some things changed around that so that it can be able to meet all their livelihood choices as they go about to live. But also during these conversations on air, closer to the people in Africa, we heard about the whole issue of climate change. It was so interesting to hear from small-scale farmers who are ready to be resilient. Imagine, only 1 out of 10 people who responded to these conversations said they would move out of their communities because of climate change. What does that mean? It means that small-scale farmers are ready to be resilient in their rural communities. But also we heard concerning the need to have safer foods that are nutritious. And that's why to go for agroecological type of farming systems is not a choice, but a must for the future of food systems. Thank you.
And Rex, as we move forward with this, and I know this is just a teaser because now we're going to have this unique opportunity to really delve into some of the solutions. We're going to listen, and we are listening to some of their voices today, but we're going to be looking into making sure that their voices are not only heard, but that they matter and that they are taken forward in terms of the decision-making processes as we build these game-changing objectives. How are you going to be able to keep them involved in the conversation as we move forward?
So really, as you've rightly said, this conversation ought to move on. Therefore, we are looking at ensuring that post the summit, we can continue to engage with these rural communities through the power of radio and mobile platforms. Because at the end of the day, it's not only the decisions made at the summit, but it's what they mean to that rural, local man and woman. It's about what they can do to drive those changes in their farming systems. So indeed, we hope that the future will bring us opportunities for more conversation and hearing more from these farmers so that indeed they can shape up what ought to be done and the kind of investments that need to be done so that they can be able to thrive in the future which they have.
So I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you very much for this amazing work that we've been able to do over the last months, and hoping that it's going to continue as one of the ways to ensure that the world comes together. So thank you so much, Rex, and we'll have a lot more detail over the months and of course at the summit in September.
Thank you so much, Helene and Rex. Now, with just a couple of months to go until the UN Food System Summit and the urgent need for a systemic transformation of our global food systems, including all voices, is so vital. That is why I am so pleased to introduce our panel so that we can take a deeper look at some of the challenges that the world faces. I'd like to start this afternoon by introducing you to Kinley Penjor, who operates a small bakery in Bhutan together with friends from university. Kinley bakes cookies using local materials in Bhutan. The bakery sources grain, flours, fruits, and other ingredients, providing a sustainable market for local smallholder producers and dairy processors. Kinley has expanded production capacity of pastries and candies sold to local markets and has recently penetrated wholesale markets in the capital city. Dorothy is a young certified seed producer and entrepreneur who recently established agricultural business in Nigeria. She started in 2017 and has now cultivated various grains on 30 hectares. Her company provides agricultural services to local farmers, she processes and markets certified seeds, thus offering employment opportunities to other young people. Jennifer and her husband, Donnie, run a small agri-processing company in the Solomon Islands. They locally source nuts, root crops, and fruit from women smallholder producers, which they process, package, and market as healthy snacks. Jennifer provides training to the women producers to help them increase their productivity and build their commercial capacity. And Esther, who's a farmer and a mother of two, aged 2 and 4, and she lives in Tanzania. Esther leveraged village-level inputs and training to expand her production and income, which enabled her to buy her 2-acre farm. She grows sweet potatoes, sunflower, and maize for her own household and to sell locally. Esther also leads 2 community savings groups to enable increased opportunities for other local farmers and producers. To introduce each of our discussion topics, we will listen to some of the rural people who phoned in on the farm radio programs. Let's hear from them about what they see as the main issues and needs they have.
There is small scale irrigation kubanga omusana mungi mu kitundu kino kugamba ngu tukyuse embeera za buli omu.
Embeera eyo ndowooza abantu balina okulima emmere nga tebagifuuyira ebibala ng'ebyo, kubifuuyira ddagala ly'amaanyi, enva endiirwa kuzifuuyira ddagala lyotamanyi gye liva. So noba nga okozesa ebigimusa ebyaffe ebyekinnansi. Mwebale nnyo, mwebale ddala.
Nini wadidin teacher tewo zane tapanaba tabazane kate wadungun tila ko mana panan bi zuya ya wonten tila ya wetin jana ba kuna na ba dambe ja bala danan din tigale ko
tulina okubeera nga tukola nnyo okubeera nga tuyimirizaawo famire zaffe. Then amannya gange bampita Nakanwa Gipisi, sinzidde Kisoga Kapasilo.
Ili tupate lishe bora ni lazima tupate mvua ya kutosha.
The Secretary General has called for the UN Food System Summit to be a people summit and a solution summit. Kinley, I'd like to start with you. What issues impact farmers in your community and in Bhutan the most?
Thank you, Liz, for giving me this opportunity. In Bhutan, we face normally different issues such as crop depredation by wild animals, and due to climate change, shortage of water supply, and shortage in irrigation water supply. And not even that, there is a new outbreak of pests and diseases in the crops, which it has never been like that before. And the challenges like outbreak of new pests and diseases in the crops, and due to poor fertility of soil, there is issues in giving a good product of the farmers.
Thank you, Kinley. Just a few moments ago, we heard how vital women are to the world's food systems, yet their voices are often underrepresented. Esther, based on your personal experience, what are some of the biggest barriers for female farmers and producers? What have you seen work to overcome these barriers?
Thank you, Lizzie. In my community, the biggest barrier for us women is our custom and tradition do not allow women as women to own land or have access to land. As a woman, I can't inherit land from my parents. And also, we face the challenge of capital. We don't have capital to invest in agriculture. And also, we face barrier in marketing. There is no place, special place or person to take the crop after harvesting.
Thank you, Esther, for highlighting the cultural and traditional practices which preclude land ownership by women farmers, and also the farm to market challenges, which I would imagine some of our other panelists are also experiencing in their communities. Jennifer, what is your experience there in the Solomon Islands working with women to increase their productivity and income?
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me to the forum. My experience with women in the Solomons, they are limited farmer of land for fertile land for farming. All our lower fertile lands are being occupied by cocoa and coconuts, even oil palm. And that leads to farmers moving to the coastal areas and mountain, even riverbank for farming. And the other thing that they also find it difficult is with transportation. The post-harvest care is also an issue. The Lack of proper kitchens and handling of their produce is also a challenge. Appropriate equipment that can be developed for women in rural areas is also a need to be addressed also. Lack of packaging and availability of materials for processing is a need for our women here in the Solomon Islands also. Yes, sea level rising is also causing farmers from atoll islands and even those in coastal areas to lose their traditional food. So that is a challenge for our farmers in the island countries.
Thank you, Jennifer. We've heard from Kinley, Esther, and Jennifer on some of the challenges that smallholder farmers face across the Solomon Islands and Tanzania and Bhutan. Crop degradation, shortages in irrigation, pest and disease outbreaks, and a lack of processing and manufacturing facilities. And certainly the land ownership challenges that women particularly face in Tanzania. I'd like to segue to Dorothy, and who can speak to us about some of the contributions and the knowledge that women are making to transform the food system in positive ways in Nigeria. Dorothy, small-scale producers like you are actually the backbone of the global food system. How are farmers, producers in your own community, especially women, contributing their knowledge and experience to help transform the food system in positive ways?
Thank you for having me. In Benue, central Nigeria, producers at community level, they form mutual groups. These mutual groups aid them to share their ideas. For some time, we have been going through the process of training smallholder farmers in good agronomic practices. So these groups that these women have formed, they use them to share their experiences, they share their resources. And so what they do basically is that as they come together, they move from one farm to another, the farms of their members, looking at the things they have done, seeing that these good agronomic practices are implemented correctly. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorothy. The purpose of this summit is to share our thoughts on ways to ensure access to safe and nutritious food for everyone, to create opportunities for equitable livelihoods, and to build resilience to vulnerabilities, shocks, and stresses in our food system. We've heard about some of the challenges. Now let's talk about possible solutions. There are a few that Farm Radio heard from rural people.
Myself, Agrika, Kadimense, Kamaki, I follow loose. Main point in the town. Maybe I'm trying to create 1 year. That's okay. Kawin good Mirunji, okay. Kawin good English. No, Tali. Okulango abantu
Nipacho sɛ meyɛ so afa mehwɛ kuadwuma so a anka mɛboa akuafo ɛwɔ sika sɛm mu ɛdi sɛ kuadwuma woyɛ na sɛ wonkura sika a ɛden paa sɛ kua yɛbɛtumi akɔ
ni burangu natakiwa uwe na uhifadhi mzuri wa chakula, uwe na uhifadhi bora, soko nzuri ya chakula ambayo itaweza kusaidia familia yako kwenye kukabiliana na hali ya mabadiliko ya hali ya hewa na njaa.
Serikali mukanga deme do dae ka unubi deme suma uka usika kidura ala amba balefo.
In light of the challenges farmers and producers face in your community and country, what are some of the solutions needed to make food systems more resilient and to improve life for smallholder producers? Kinley, let me come back to you to get us started.
Solutions that the state has provided and need to provide more of these kind of methods, such as providing an promotion of electric fences in case of crop depredation by wild animals, and other issues regarding other issues. The solutions may be by a promotion of climate or providing climate resilient machineries or technologies to help and tackle the obstacles in producing a good quality crop. And another thing is providing or promotion of stress-tolerant crops to the farmers, and such as stress-tolerant maize, and such kind of methods should be promoted into the rural areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Kinley. Esther, what needs to change so that everyone in your community has equal access to safe, healthy, nutritious food all year round?
What I can say is it is every adult person in the member of the family. It is a responsibility to keep enough food for their family all around the year. And also the farmer, they should not sell all the crop they harvest. And also all the farmer should not use the crop they harvest for another uses, like producing local beverage, and should be some local law which can make the farmer not to sell all the crop they harvest. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Esther. Dorothy, how do you think smallholder producers in Nigeria can increase productivity? What are possible barriers to increase productivity, and how do you think those barriers can be overcome?
Okay, thank you very much. And there are some barriers. We have barriers like water. We have barriers of funds. We have barriers of skill as capacity. We have barriers of security. So I'll go from the top. For water, that is the provision of infrastructure for irrigation. You see, more of farmers will have to go into irrigation, and it means that the infrastructure will have to be provided. Those infrastructures like tube wells, dams, construction. And then we have for the funds, I think funds should come in forms of grants and soft loans. For the issue of security, there should be measures that we aid peace and coexistence, peaceful coexistence in the communities at community level. Recently, we've been having series of issues of herdsmen, killings everywhere. So if we have security, I think that will yield more production. And then the issue of quality seeds, still there are some communities where they have not gotten orientation on the use of quality seeds. So more of certified seeds should be made available to farmers at farm gates. And then the issue of land policy, we have serious issues as regards ownership, land ownership. Like for me, that is a lady, it's very, very difficult for me to have access to personal land. And then even when you have, there are issues of land and conflict of land. So with all this, if access to land is made much, the policies are made in such a way that farmers can have easy access to land, I think that will help us get more production. Thank you.
Jennifer, climate change is certainly of concern to Pacific Island countries like Solomon Islands. What can be done to help smallholder producers adapt?
Yeah, thank you. The smallholders to adapt to the changes, there's a need to find a crops or the system that can help them to overcome to understand the patterns of weather and even prepared for that, especially for food security. There is a need for preservation of food to the natural disaster, which is predictable for us in the Pacific, especially in Solomon Islands. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. A number of you have mentioned challenges that you faced in your communities, and there seems to be commonalities across your communities. So I'd like to turn over to you, Kinley. What questions do you have for your fellow panelists?
I would like to ask to Jennifer that how they manage the water irrigation system in their country, because I believe that their country is being surrounded by oceans, and do they so are they even trying to treat the ocean water to water their agricultural products?
Yeah, here in the Solomon, we find it difficult to get clean waters because of the climate change, and farmers or families are using digging well for the household use, even rainwater tank, but it's a problem that they are facing it now. Atoll islands, they rely on coconuts, drinking coconuts water, and that depends on the rainy season. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Dorothy, you spoke earlier about land tenure challenges, and I know that Esther, you had also mentioned the difficulty of women owning land in Tanzania. What questions do you have for Esther, Dorothy?
Okay, Esther, I would want to know how the women there go around cultivating crops, since the issue of getting access to land is very difficult in Tanzania.
Yes, it is very difficult for us women, according to our custom and tradition. So as women, what we do is we have our groups, saving groups. So from the saving group, we have money, which during the agricultural season, we take that money and find a farm. We borrow the farm, buy that money from the group, and cultivate. And if you manage to get more money from your saving, you can buy your own lands.
We all wonder what the future of farming will be. Who will grow the food we need, where, and how? These are some thoughts shared over the radio.
ɔmo nka akuafoɔ no mbom na ɔmo mfa adwenkyerɛ ɛwɔ biara ho ha obi ade ne problem ba na ɔmo ahwɛ ɔmo ne agricfoɔ no na ɔmo aka bom na ɔmo ahwɛ asolve individual problems afei na ɔmo nso nimdeɛ a ɔmo wɔ ɛde fa kua no ho no na nka ɔmo de aka ho
nwanze nali badde mpanya abavubuka ekyokulabira kubanze kati nina ennimiro eyange gyesobola okulimu ennyaanya zange zibeera bulungi era nenfunamu ne capital yatandika kati saa nina akaduuka kange nafunamu ennyaanya era nsobola oba amagezi engeri gyerimu ennyaanya zibeera nnungi era nozifunamu nofunako n'amagoba nga tokoze loosi.
Abantu balina okukyusa mu gundi mu ngeri gye balimamu ne ba improvingamuuko. Mbeera Kayunga, amanya gange yenze Olivo.
Anka kasenkala oteme na ya so mwetu mnekulu netumba la nyeka kameli de misenota kasene tuga dula porque sene kanu ka dula ukaseka tanye ulo tumnefeka fo.
Before we wrap our fascinating conversation, I would like each of you to share with me your views in just 1 minute on what farming will look like in the future for today's children. Esther, Dorothy, Jennifer, Kinley, 1 minute each. I'll start with you, Esther.
Thank you. I see in the future agriculture in a bright side because I believe that new technology and high technology will be used, like irrigation system, like greenhouse, and to cultivate without depending on rain season only. Like by now, we are using hand hoe to cultivate, but in the future, I see more technology being available in our community. Thank you.
Jennifer?
Thank you. Agroforestry farming system is a model that I think it should be adopted to our farmers that can preserve our resources for our future generation or children.
Kinley?
I'm certain that in future for our children, there will be much of mechanized agricultural practices and operation of new technologies into the agricultural field, and even practicing of smart agricultural methods and protected agricultural methods, and providing there will be like smart irrigation practices in the country for the children in future.
And last but not least, Dorothy.
Okay. Future farming. In the future, farming will be modernized. And the major players, I see major players coming and bringing all the beneficiaries of this, creating a platform and bringing all beneficiaries together. And then farming in the future will be the best, if not the best option for any investments at all. Thank you.
Thank you. And we heard from some of our contributors on the radio that there would be a shared love for farming. I would imagine that each of you would agree with that sentiment. I'd like to hear from each of our panelists what your thoughts are on returning to more organic and natural ways of food farming, and how you feel that that would impact food security.
Organic farming, it is a good way because many farmers, they don't follow the instruction of pesticide. industrial pesticide. So it make the main crop produced have many side effects of that pesticide they use. So it is a good way for me to return in organic farming, because the crop harvested should be more safe than other way of farming. Thank you.
Producing food using organic sources, it's very, very good, because chemicals, I think the extreme use of chemicals brings about toxicity of even our lands. So the use of organic materials, organic sources of nutrients is a welcome idea. It will be good. And in the future, I hope that we will all go back to organic farming. Thank you.
The agroforestry farming system is a model that I think it is organic, and most of the farmers here in the Solomon are depending on the wild harvest, which is easy for us to go back to our traditional way of farming and teach our children to adapt to that practices. So organic food is a need for us to live a healthy lifestyle. Thank you.
Well, thanks so much to our Rural Voices, Jennifer, Kinley, Esther, Dorothy, who have participated today. Before we finish, we are pleased to be able to invite some closing remarks from Norway.
Good afternoon. I'm Morten Osland, Norway's ambassador to IFAD and the UN organizations in Rome. It has been a real pleasure to be with you at this IFAD event on small-scale producers and agri-entrepreneurs. It has been powerful and an eye-opener listening to you. It has made it clear, and this is no news, that small-scale producers in agriculture and fisheries play an essential role in global food systems, and that they need to play an even bigger role in the transformation to more sustainable food systems that both mankind and the planet needs. We know that many of the global food systems are unsustainable. They contribute to land and water degradation, loss of biodiversity, and growing emissions of greenhouse gases. At the same time, a staggering number of people are undernourished or live under the threat of famine. And diet-related overweight and non-communicable diseases are increasing worldwide. Global food systems are crying out for change. My country has a strong hope that the broad, multi-stakeholder process we have behind us and this pre-summit will set the stage for real transformation at a global level and within nations. I have one point to make in this context. Small-scale farming and artisanal and local fisheries must be given the best possible opportunities within the transformed global and national food systems that we seek. Why is this? Small-scale production is often environmentally sustainable. Small-scale farmers and fishermen are, at their best, custodians of biodiversity and ecosystems. The capacities and knowledge they possess should be safeguarded and further developed. For this reason, Norway has launched a game-changing solution to ensure that seed systems put the needs of farmers and indigenous people first. This in order to promote food security and to maintain the genetic diversity that is the foundation for all food production. Secondly, small-scale production is local and often ensures that resources, income, and benefits remain in the communities that produce. This reduces poverty and social inequalities, and it is important. And thirdly, Small-scale production makes up a very significant part of overall food production. Small-scale fisheries, for example, provide nearly 90% of the world's fish supply. So the world cannot afford to overlook the needs for targeted support for small-scale farmers and fishermen. Indeed, COVID-19 has shown the importance of local, community-based produce at a time of crisis and major interruptions in global food chains. Norway is committed to supporting small-scale agriculture and fisheries through a range of programs in many countries. The need to support and to empower vulnerable communities in marginal areas in low-income countries is a reason we are supporting IFAD programs. I wish you all the best in your endeavors, and thank you for attending this event.
Thank you very much for joining us today. More Rural Voices can be found at ifad.org/Rural Voices, and more results from the farm radio research will be published in September, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching.